Good morning. You're watching Morning at NTV, and we're taking notes. And I'm trying to round up two conversations that have stood out since last week. One, even this week when we talked about police, many people saying that, you know what, there's no access to the law. You know, we get in trouble, but then you don't even know where to turn to for a lawyer. I mean, there's a mutuawansi, real issues, real people saying that, you know, how do I access the law? What do I know about the law? It sounds like something that would be expensive. So in studios joining me is Ssenyonga, who is a lawyer. Young lawyer, and I thought, you know, we would talk about how the ordinary average Ugandan can access the law. But also joining me in studios, I do have Godfrey Kutesa, who has a boys mentorship program. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yes, you'll be talking to us about how to raise the next generation of good men.
Absolutely.
From boys to men. And earlier on I said this generation is dead, and you said not so dead. Some can be salvaged.
Yes, yes.
But we're talking about how to raise the younger boys into good men.
Yes.
There'll be a conversation in a bit. But let's start with you, Simon.
Yes.
Yesterday we were talking about police, and people said we get into so much trouble, but you don't know. A lawyer is found in a certain home. Where do I access legal help? And also, there was also a question of the process taking so long, that even if I was to find a good lawyer, I'm going to go 3 years, you know, back and forth, back and forth. So let's start with where and how any ordinary Ugandan, you think, can access legal help.
Thank you very much, Flavia. I think the most primary thing to understand is that, one, as a Ugandan, you have a right to access justice.
Yes.
Now, this is a constitutional right. Being a constitutional right, it's one that is deeply ingrained in the law, and it ought to be protected.
Yes.
Now, what happens is that the law provides an institutional and regulatory framework of how that now operates.
Yes.
So you ask about two questions, about the access to justice, and also the aftermath, after, you know, you have accessed the justice, the process and the backlog and all these things. Now, depending on the matter that you're dealing with, really, there are different avenues which can be used.
Let's start with today, KCCA. Particularly, you were saying that those who you've either failed to pay a license or your hawker, you've thrown in jail. Sometimes you let go, and this is recurring. Is that it? Am I going to just deal with KCCA and me, jail, KCCA, me? Come on.
I think what happens now, for, you know, different institutions have different operations. Now, realize that the constitution provides for an operation of a local government.
Yes.
Now, for example, Kampala, the capital city, is under the Kampala Capital City Authority, created under the KCCA Act. Now, it provides for a particular court that operates, the KCCA court, that deals with matters concerning regulation and enforcement of the KCCA law and other enabling laws within the KCCA. Now, for that particular matter, you'll have to deal with the KCCA court. However, you realize that the KCCA is not a court, is not in law what we would call a court of record.
Okay.
It's not a high court, it's not a constitutional court, it's not a Supreme Court. It's not, it has a magisterial, it's a magisterial court. Now, you have to deal with those. The other instance you have to deal with is the police, especially when you're dealing with criminal matters. Now, police, there is a process of a way a case is opened, then the file is handled, then the DPP will, you know, can sanction the file, and, you know, the matter is taken on as a criminal procedure. Now, that's also another avenue. Now, other things, other rights that are there, for example, the human rights. So, human rights, these are basically issues to do with civic, it's a civil law, you get it. Now, what happens is that for criminal matters, then you'll have to go to police.
Police, yes.
Then for the civil matters, for example, you'll have to deal with the magistrates' courts, the high courts. Now, depending on, again, the nature of the matter, there are particular procedures which we don't have so much time to elaborate on, how matters can be instituted.
I'm worried that just listening to this, there's most parts I didn't know. And I'm wondering how the average Ugandan person gets information. You understand? Because I don't have to wait to get in trouble to then find out all this information, depending on where you've studied with the police, with whether it's KCCA, because people are operating businesses, so they're bound to get in trouble somehow, or to violate a law they didn't even know existed in the first place. So where are the avenues for information? I
think let me begin from this premise, that under the Penal Code Act, which is the principal law that creates for criminal offenses, it says that ignorance of the law is no defense.
That's true.
Okay, let's begin from there. Now, then we go on to say, again now, the Ugandans should take comfort in the provision of the Constitution. Article 41 of the Constitution, it says that there is a right to access to information.
Exactly.
And Parliament has gone ahead to enact a law called the Access to Information Act. Now, under that act, there's a very elaborate procedure of how, one, Ugandans can access
and who
particular
should be
information.
giving me the information,
It's
right?
the government. Now, the primary place of access to information is that the government has an obligation.
Yes.
However, Article 41 comes in to protect that information which may be a little sensitive, and that's why it gives for that procedure.
Yes.
However, now, Ugandans under Article 17 of the Constitution, they have an obligation, one, they have a duty as citizens to be aware of the things going on in the country.
Is that why ignorance can't save me?
I think ignorance can't save you when you're concerning especially criminal laws, okay? Criminal laws. But for other sorts of laws and information, it really takes vigilance, but also it takes government obligation to ensure that it executes its duties, because the government has an obligation to do that.
All right, as we're winding up this particular segment, as an ordinary Ugandan, I shouldn't just wait to be a criminal or to know a family member is a criminal to say that I should inform myself of the law. Which parts of our lives or our work do you feel we need to have legal information or legal help?
You know, the law being the law and the rights being inherent, you must be aware every area of your life.
Yes.
It has an issue to do with the law. Now, you can choose to be ignorant about it, but you see, the law will always be applicable. And the basic areas we have, for example, concerning family,
yes,
issues dealing with marriage and divorce, concerning how the marriage, whether it's a civil marriage or it's a customary marriage. Yes. At the time of divorce, issues to do with property distribution, you know, the rights of the married people in the marriage and after the marriage. In the marriage, you know that they are, in law we call them issues, what we call children.
Yes.
Now, children also have rights, so also there are children rights.
Yeah.
Even in the area where you operate,
your business or your
workplace. The business, the workplace, the areas. For example, in the workplace, you have issues to do with, one, do you have an employment contract if you're dealing, for example, with the corporation? Because you see, there are rights to be enforced during the tenure that you're dealing with for a particular corporation. And we
forget to read that particular breach of contract, you know, what you can and cannot do. You just flip to the money, flip to signature, and you sign. And
many people do not realize that even they do have rights even when the contract is being terminated. How should they, what should happen when a contract is being terminated? Many people realize that many employers will simply send away people. Even when you're dealing with government and institutions, there are laws that, you know, relate with, you know, traffic laws. For example, you're driving a traffic officer, not everybody can stop you on the road to tell you what to do. There are particular people who are designed to do that sort of work. So every area of life, you know, be it when you've gone to, you know, people who enjoy life and they go anywhere.
There's a legal entity to it.
There are legal entities, but so the one which are, again, many people are very, very ignorant about, which I have a very specific interest in, is issues to deal again with what we call supernatural relationship with God and religion. Now, I know that's an area of murky waters, but you see, again, there are laws that are ought to be, that protect actually such areas.
Fantastic. That is Simon Ssenyonga, a lawyer, and of course you've been hearing this and saying that one affects me, that one, elaborate. He will be back, and especially with contracts. If some of you have signed contracts or some of you have been told by your boss you're hired and that's the last time you heard of it, and you somehow get paid something, and the next time you want to complain about something, there's no legal paper to actually defend you. He'll be back to, you know, break down all of that. But I'd also like to talk to Godfrey Kutesa, who's here. He has a boys mentorship program. He said he started 3 years back. 3 years back. So for 3 years now, there's been some differences, you think?
Yes.
You've seen the differences?
Yes.
You work with what ages?
It's under foundation. I have a foundation, Kutesa Foundation.
Yes.
And in that foundation, I focus on the boy child. And first I came up with a program that deals with the mothers of sons.
Okay.
Yes, the mothers raising sons. Just to talk to them, just to share with them. Many mothers are caught in that dilemma. The dad is not around. How should I talk to my son about shaving?
That's true.
How should I talk to my son about laying the bed? Who should talk to my son about these manly things? So then we progress to putting up a program that says boys mentoring mentoring boys. It's a boys mentoring program.
Yes.
Because when you deal with the mothers, then they wanted to send you their sons.
Because they can't do it all. Single
They
mothers
can't.
are thinking, I can't play
can't.
every single role a
Exactly.
dad would have played.
They
Yes.
can't. So they sent me their sons. That's when I started the boys mentorship program. And the boys mentorship program deals with 7 to 17.
7 to 17 years.
The years of formation, that's what we're looking at.
Yes.
The years of, at that age, whatever you tell the boy, he can grasp and he
imprinted.
can do. But when you miss to tell them and then you start telling them at 18 or 19, they'll beat
You're
you
a
up.
bit late.
No, they'll beat you up. I've got mothers
wow.
who are complaining that, you know, the son was backing at me. Said, Mommy, if you do this,
I'll beat you.
you don't know what I'll do. They cannot say, I'll beat you, but they say, you don't know what I'll do to you. And you know how that breaks a mother's heart.
Yeah.
So that's why we came up with the program, Boys Mentorship Program.
Tell me, what sort of things do you deal with? I know you've talked about, you know, a mother wouldn't know how to talk to a boy to shave or
Yes,
something like
yes,
that.
yes.
But perhaps maybe in categories, what do you deal with?
First of all, when he was talking about the law and what,
Yes.
I was just thinking of the boys that I meet in prison.
Yes.
If you look at the prison population, the ratio of boys to girls, you can even cry. 2,000 boys, 120 girls.
Whoa.
4,000 men, 500 women. When you look at that, what comes to your mind is that there was something that was missed before. There is something that wasn't done before. And all these people that are put in jail, let's say the men, society is not kind to men. Everything is said, I mean, you should know. You should know. And as I was growing up, there are things that my mom never told me.
Yeah.
And she even didn't take the ability to send me to my uncles or whoever it was.
To help you.
To help me. And you know what that was? It's because she thought that I will know these things. So,
You
by
find
nature,
a
we
way.
think,
Uncle
yes,
so-and-so will tell you.
yes. By nature, we think that the boy will know these things. He will find out how to apply deodorant. He will find out how to
Godfrey, I know we
Yes.
put so much emphasis on women. When we're growing up as girls, we're told too many things. There's so much information that comes to you, from
Yes.
hygiene
Yes.
to etiquette, whatever.
Exactly.
Do you feel like it should be in equal measure or even more for boys?
More for boys.
More?
Why? Because this boy is going to be a father. He's going to lead souls in a home. A boy was designed to lead.
Yes.
And because he was designed to lead, society came up and said, no, go girl child. And you know, the girls went. You went. You went. And girls went and went and went and went. And you know what? In the process of girls going, the boys
stayed back.
They said, okay, my sister is doing this. But I said, if you look around town today, most of the boys are being taken care of by their sisters. Because your brother is going to call you up and say, Flavia, can you send me 20K? Can you tell me, I have this problem.
Enabling them.
Exactly.
Yes.
So you are impairing their ability to lead. And he has you in mind that you are the leader. And in one way or the other, that's why we find ourselves with a lot of separated homes, just like he's talked about, a lot of separated homes, whereby the father was not empowered or equipped, but the woman or the mother was equipped
fully.
And then when she
Yeah.
gets there, she's waiting for the man to take the lead.
Yes.
But you know, the man is not taking the lead. You know what? Because the father is said, no, mommy was giving me pocket money from the beginning of school up to the end of school, and she never told me how to work. She never taught me how to lead. My bed was being laid by a maid.
my mother or my sister.
My boxers were being washed by the maid. Everything was being done for me, and you expecting me to be
do it
able to
myself?
lead you. So the woman says, I can't stand this nonsense, I'm leaving. So
Yes.
if we do not touch the boys today, Flavia, I want to
The
assure
same
you,
patterns are going to
it's going
continue.
to, and we won't be able to raise a generation. We won't be able to raise a nation, to build a nation. A nation is being built on a daily basis by the presence of men. But if we don't have men in the society, if men are not taking the lead, if boys are not equipped to take the lead, we have a dead generation.
We're in trouble, I tell you. That's Godfrey Kutesa. He has a boys mentorship program, and I know this conversation is just started. If you have questions, you have a son, even if you're a single father, and you're thinking, forget it. I also wasn't told, you know, growing up what to do.
Yes.
I mean, you can always reach out to us, #morning@ntv, and we'll bring Godfrey Kutesa back for a longer time to answer some of your questions and queries. And speaking of boy child, I know he's very grounded, he's very humble, and he was downtown with us, and that is Levikson. And I also have Andrew Chamagor. If we can get back to you. Oh, Levikson, there you are. Good morning.
Good morning, my sister. How are you?
I'm good. We have Godfrey Kutesa in studio who was sharing that young boys are not raised with all the information they need to be leaders. Do you believe so?
Come again?
He's saying that as young boys, when you're being raised, you're not taught or given enough skills to be leaders. Is it true?
I'll say it is 50-50, yes. All we can say it's true. But at the end of the day, people think boys should be taught, but like life should teach us. You understand? But which is also something I can't believe. If you have got a chance, if you have time, sit down this boy and tell him more about life.
That's true. Thank you so much. So Levikson, this is my first time actually interviewing you, just to say I love your music. You are doing gospel music.
Thank you so much. I give the glory back to God.
And see, you're talking about God. I've seen you before you went to a performance. You actually took a few minutes and prayed. And I don't know if you can just tell us in a few minutes how that grounds you to be led by God in your talent.
Me, I believe there's nothing I can do without God. So every time I tell him, every time I'm going to do something, I tell him to increase in me and I decrease. Because I'm very normal. There are many people who don't believe in me, but there's nobody who can disrespect God. So I always want him to take over. Me, I'm just a vessel. So God first in everything I do.
Well done. So I hear you're nominated for something. Can you tell us about that?
First, I want to give the glory back to God again. We have been nominated. Me, I was nominated in UK, Best East African Artist and Best Afro Artist, African Artist. But also there's something which is happening this Saturday, the Vega Awards, where I have over 6 nominations. It is going to be taking place at Imperial Royal. It's going to be very nice. We're trying to show the world that gospel music is full of life. So we are coming together to celebrate the gospel. And Vega Award is going to be making 10 years.
Fantastic.
So
well,
it is so we can't wait.
Well done. Congratulations, and ahead of time, congratulations. There's a particular song of yours I love. And as we let Andrew Chamagero come back and join you on screen, if you can give me just, I always like to say an a cappella of Turn the Replay.
DJ, can you play me? I want to dance in my journey. When you play me the music, play me music that we like. And every time when we dance together, we dance the music that we love. Yeah, yeah. 1 in a million, everybody move it so spiritually. Sure, on the replay, my God, on the replay. Yeah. On the replay.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Replay.
That is Levikson, who's been nominated. There you go, Andrew.
Hey, Flavia, we're coming to live from Mwala here, Nachivugu.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Andrew, we're pressed for time, so we're going to go ahead and say goodbye. You seem like you're having a better time. I'm going to take a concert.
Tujja kukuba concert very soon. Well, that's all we had for you from the trenches today. Of course, it's Andrew K. Omuntuwa Wansi. It has been a great conversation. Thank you so much, Mr. Peter Kawuju, and thank you, Levikson, for coming down. Man, it has been a great, great day. Flavia and Mala, all I can say, and all the Ugandans, we are going to change our very own stories if we work together, if we are to make this a better place, you know.
Thank you so much, Andrew Chamagore there. That's it for Morning at NTV. Please continue this conversation, whether it's about raising the boy child or access to, legal help. If you have any questions and experiences you want to share, the hashtag is Morning at NTV. Have a lovely weekend.